All right, let's dive into something that's, just incredibly important for any woman with diabetes who's thinking about starting or growing her family. We're going to talk about this critical window of time that can literally shape your baby's entire future health. And the craziest part, it all happens before you might even know you're pregnant.
So let me start by asking you a question. When does your baby's future really begin? I mean, is it the day they're born? Or maybe when you see that first ultrasound? The answer? Well, it might just surprise you. And getting it right is the absolute key to giving your child the healthiest start in life.
The research on this is just crystal clear. It's powerful stuff. The most critical phase of your baby's development, it actually happens before you even see a positive sign on a home pregnancy test. We call this crucial time frame the golden window.
Let's think about it like this. Imagine your body is the soil, and your baby is a precious seed. You wouldn't just toss a seed into soil you haven't prepared, would you? Of course not. The exact same logic applies here. The health of that environment, the soil, before conception, that's everything. And that's the whole point. Getting your blood sugar under control isn't just a nice thing to do. It's a proactive strike to protect your baby's health. By creating the safety zone beforehand, you're making sure that from the very first moment of existence, their cells are growing in the absolute best environment possible. Okay, so let's get into the science of it. Why is this early period so incredibly sensitive to blood sugar? What makes those first few weeks so vital?
It all comes down to this one word, organogenesis. Think of it as this amazing 8-week biological construction project where your baby's entire blueprint gets laid out. A tiny cluster of cells becomes a beating heart, a developing brain, a closing spinal cord. And here's the thing, this is often happening before you've even missed a period. And this is where the problem comes in. During this super delicate construction phase, high blood sugar basically acts like a toxin. It's like a glitch in the system, messing up the signals that cells need to follow. This is what can cause a heart to not form right, or that spinal tube to not close all the way, and that's what dramatically increases the risk of major birth defects.
So how do we even know what that environment looks like? Well, a daily finger prick test, that's just a snapshot. It tells you what's happening in one single moment. It's helpful, for sure, but it doesn't tell the whole story. What we really need is the full documentary, the big picture of your sugar control over the last 3 months. And that's exactly what an HbA1c test gives us.
All right, so let's decode that number. Let's see how this one piece of data creates a clear, almost mathematical link between your HbA1c score and your baby's safety. And this isn't guesswork, right? This is all based on solid data from research all over the world.
Now just look at this for a second. The story this chart tells is wow, it's incredibly dramatic. See that little bar on the left? That's an HbA1c below 7%. The risk is about 3%, basically the same as for a woman who doesn't have diabetes. But look how fast that risk just shoots up. Get to an HbA1c over 11.5%, and the risk of a major birth defect jumps to almost 40%. That's just a staggering increase.
And here's that same data, just broken down a bit more. If your HbA1c is between 8.5 and 9.5%, your risk is about 1 in 5. If it's over 11.5%, it's more than 1 in 3. Now, these numbers are really stark, but they're also our roadmap. They show us exactly where we need to aim to get into that safe golden window.
And here it is. This is the target. The goal, backed by tons of research, is an HbA1c below 6.5%. Hitting this number before you stop using contraception, it basically resets the risk. It gives your baby the safest possible start, the same as any healthy pregnancy. This number, right here, this is our key.
So the big question is, how do we get there? This isn't about some vague advice like, oh, just eat better. No, this is about a precise, medically backed action plan, and it's all designed to get you to that magic number, 6.5%.
So here they are, the 4 concrete steps your doctor's going to walk you through. First, the 6.5% rule, and using contraception until you nail it. Second, a special superdose of folic acid. Third, a specific exercise strategy. And fourth, a whole new way of looking at your plate. Let's break them down.
Okay, one of the most powerful tools in our toolbox is what we call the Indian glycemic plate. The 50% rule is so simple, but it works wonders. You fill half your plate, half of it, with fiber from vegetables. This fiber acts like a sponge or a filter, slowing down how fast sugar hits your blood. It prevents those really dangerous spikes after you eat. The other half of your plate? That gets split between protein and smart carbs.
This also means making some really smart swaps. So think broken wheat or brown rice instead of white rice. And it's not just what you eat, it's also how you eat it. Take ragi, for example. It's super healthy, right? But if you have it as a liquid porridge, that sugar gets released really fast. If you eat it in a solid form, like a rate or a muddy, it slows that whole process way down.
Now, to really succeed with this plan, we have to talk about some common myths. These are misconceptions that can, unfortunately, get in the way and even put the baby at risk.
The number one single most dangerous myth is waiting. The reality is, by the time you see that positive test, organogenesis is already happening. The baby's heart is already beating. You can't rewind the clock. The golden window is always, and I mean always, before conception.
Here's another one we hear a lot, the idea that traditional remedies are enough. And look, while some of these might have minor benefits, they simply can't give you the precise, hour-by-hour blood sugar control that you need during this time. Relying on them instead of proven medical treatments like metformin or insulin is just a huge gamble.
And that brings us to the biggest misconception of all, about insulin. So many people think it's a last resort, but actually, it's the total opposite. Insulin is often our gold standard for safety during pregnancy. Why? Because it's a big molecule. It can't cross the placenta, so it fixes the sugar in your blood without ever reaching the baby. It is, quite literally, the ultimate shield.
So, I want to leave you with a completely new way to think about this whole journey. This isn't about being a patient or focusing on all the things you can't do. It's something so much more powerful than that.
You're not a patient, you are an architect. You're carefully, thoughtfully designing the very first home your child will ever know. This isn't about restriction. This is an incredible act of empowerment. You are actively building a healthy foundation for the amazing person you're bringing into this world.
So, the only question left is, are you ready to build their future? Because by taking these steps, by hitting that target of an HbA1c below 6.5%, you are giving your child the most amazing gift you could ever imagine, the gift of a healthy heart, a strong spine, and the best possible start to their life. And that right there is the highest form of care there is.